Hey guys, sorry I'm kind of late jumping on here. I was just sharing the link to the live stream in the group. See if anybody else wants to jump on. I know this is really kind of last minute. This is not planned. I had a couple people ask me if I could jump on and show them how to build a trading bot live using the Cumulative Delta indicator. So I figured, yeah, what the hell? We'll jump on live here and we could build a bot live together and I could try to answer some questions. So we got Schroden on here and C8. Let's see if we can get anybody else in here from the Zierman group. Maybe we can kill a bunch of birds with one stone here. Let's see. All right, Schroden, I just saw your message. It says that you might be lagging. Is the stream okay for you? All right. So first of all, I mean, this is really for Schroden. So Schroden had some questions. Did you say that you signed up for a TOMMYBOTS account? Like I said, we're kind of winging it here, so we'll just see what kind of questions you have and where you want to start. All right, so you signed up for the Pro plan, and just so you know, here, let me go ahead and share. All right, this is my account on TOMMYBOTS right now. And as you can see, I'm using a lot of alerts. I actually have over 22,000 alerts that I use this month. I probably use more than most people. I also do things in a way that could be done with less alerts. And I do it more out of laziness than anything. But let's see. In order to build a bot like this, you're probably going to want the Pro plan. You can probably, if you're just doing like, if you're doing swing trading and you're trading more of the higher time frames, you probably won't, you could get away with the smaller plan, but you have unlimited alerts with the Pro plan. And as you can see, I use them up. So yeah. Yeah, you could easily use a lot of alerts like this. So let's see. I just built a bot yesterday using the Trump coin that just came out. So maybe we should just take a look at that one quick. So if you look at my alerts panel on the right side, can you guys see that? I know it might be kind of small on the live stream here. Here, let me change my view so you can see me again. But essentially, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 alerts that I'm using for this bot. All right, just saw your message. C8. You said remove the web. I got that, so you can see now. Unfortunately, I don't think I can zoom in or anything. By the way, this Trump coin was just released, and that's why these panels on the right side, they don't have, usually I have the daily up here, I have the 8-hour here and the 4-hour here. Anyway, that data is not available because this coin is brand new. And so if I go over to my main window here, I'm on the 15-minute chart. So as you can see, when you just start with like no data, and you kind of have to let the data accumulate before you start getting like the confirmation line on here, before you start getting the delta candles on here. And so I waited, and that was one of the reasons why I went down to a lower time frame, like the 15-minute, is because it just started to come together. And the other day, see this green circle right here? That's where it actually entered me into this trade. And it went as high as almost 28% right there. And then we got the signal that closed underneath the delta right here. And had I taken profit there, I still would have had like 20%. But then there was just a massive push down. It dropped, you know, like 28% down here. And I had my stop sitting right here at break even. So I broke even on that trade. But just to give you a general idea of what my bot does, what it typically does is it waits for the delta candles to get to cross above that confirmation line right there. And once it goes above, then there's basically two different buying scenarios that I have set up. I want to see a pullback of the signal line below this dotted line, which I call the power zone. You guys probably already know that. If you downloaded the playbook, the power zone is down here. There's also a power zone on the top there. If you're not familiar with the playbook, there's a link at the top of the screen. You can download that playbook and all of the different setups, entry setups, exit setups. They're all in there. And this doesn't cover everything, but this is just a basic bot that works really well. This is typically how I run things. Is I'll wait for the signal to push down and to tick up in this lower power zone. And when it does that, it will buy. So it's basically buying a pullback. C8, why power zone at 0.002 and not 0.001 is in the playbook? That's a great question. You can tighten it up and do it on 0.001. I just have this particular bot configured to do it at 0.002. One of the reasons why I do that is because sometimes there's some really good entries that I end up missing by, you know, wanting it to pull back so low. Let's just see here. If I put a horizontal line on the screen at 0.001, make sure it's at 0.001. So here, I'll change the color so that you guys can see that a little bit better. You can see that in this case, I would have missed it. See that? So if you're looking for like the extreme pullbacks, yeah, you want to use 0.001. But sometimes, you know, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, which I'm kind of more of an aggressive trader, and you could change that. That's totally up to you to change it in the rules. But I just have it set to enter on 0.002. But essentially, I wait for it to pull back there and buy as long as the delta is still above the confirmation line. If the delta falls underneath like it did over here, and then we tick up from lower power zone, it ignores that. So once you have that cross, then at that point you become more bearish. And at that point, this becomes a short. This becomes a short. This becomes a short. Now, I'm not shorting with the bot. So I am only trading spot with the bot. And so I'm only looking for long. So I don't really care about the shorts. So this example that I could run through will show you how to set up a long bot. But as you can see, you know, once we made the cross right there, this is exactly where, you know, that would have been a good short. Here, 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 and the price falls down. So I'm not interested in going long again until we have those delta candles cross back above that confirmation line. And so my bot is basically just waiting on standby, waiting for that to happen. Any questions so far? Oh, that was just the first buying scenario. The second buying scenario is a higher low on the signal. So you can see these green triangles right here. So if here, I'll take my little circle so you can see that. That little green triangle right there, that is a higher low on the signal. This is also a higher low on the signal. And if it prints a higher low and the delta is underneath the confirmation line, it ignores it. But if it printed a higher low over here, it would have entered again. And that's another thing that the bot will do, is it will keep entering positions as long as it satisfies the criteria until it doesn't anymore. If you didn't want it to do that, you can simply, as soon as it enters into a position, you can just come over to your alerts panel and you can just hit the pause button on your higher low entries and hit the pause button on your power zone entries. So I should probably explain for the new people here who have never seen this before. I should explain that the way that this bot works is you can create any number of criteria that you want from any indicator. It doesn't have to be this indicator. It could be any indicator. And you can group your conditions into what we call group alerts. So for my power zone entry, for example, let's just focus on the power zone. Notice how my alerts say 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. So in order for that to happen, all three of these conditions need to alert within a specific time window of each other. So I'll just open up the first one. Can you guys see that, or is that too small? Is that okay? Hold on a second. I'm going to see if Jay Waz wants to jump in here, because I know he was interested too. I just sent him the link. Okay. So, all right. So I know this is an ideal where, like I said, we're just kind of winging this. We just decided to go live. My computer's not really set up to do this right now. So we'll see if we can get by with this. And if it doesn't work, we'll do another live later on. But for now, I'll try to walk through this. And as long as you can make out the values in the fields, we should be all right. So you'll notice that in this particular case, the condition is the signal line has to be less than 0.002. So the signal line is this thin line right here. And so if the signal is less than that, then on every candle close, this alert is going to fire. That's all that alert is. The second one says the signal line switches up. So when the signal line changes from orange to white, that is called a switch up. And so there's a condition in here for signal line switches up. And so on the bar close, if that happens, this alert's going to fire. Now, in this alert code, you don't have to do any coding, by the way. There's a code generator that I'm going to show you where you can generate this code. But in this code, there's a little piece in here that says this is alert number 2 of 3, of a total of 3. And so that's how the bot knows. The bot's going to receive this, and it's going to say, okay, well, I received alert number 1. I'm still waiting on number 2. And there's a group window that you specify. It could be anything you want. I have it set to 10 minutes. So if I get group alert number 1 and it's missing number 2 and I receive number 3 all within 10 minutes, then nothing's going to happen. It's still going to be waiting for number 2. And so once that 10-minute window goes by, then everything resets and it's waiting for those alerts to all come in within 10 minutes of each other. So it's all relative to each other, or relative to the first alert that's received. If that makes sense. And so, so that's the signal line switch up. And then for the third, this one says that the delta candle, so I'm using the delta candle close, has to be greater than the confirmation line. So again, that's my third. So that's alert number 3 of a total of 3. So again, just to recap, if I get a tick up and if it's below the 0.002 level, and if the delta candles, which are these candles up here that turn white to orange, as long as those are above the confirmation line, which is the thin orange line, then all of those conditions are satisfied. And so as long as all 3 alert within 10 minutes, it sends all 3 alerts over to the bot will field those. It's just waiting there, ready to accept alerts. And from that point on, it's going to either send you a notification or it is going to execute whatever your instruction is on the exchange. And in this particular case, the instruction is cancel then buy. So if you have it set to cancel then buy, if you have any open limit orders on the exchange, it's going to cancel those first. That's why it says cancel. And then it's going to buy using whatever criteria you have. So here I have it set to, I want to place a limit order. I want to use the candle close price. And I want to use 8% of the available balance on my account for this trade. And you just have to give the group alert an ID. In this case, I named it Trump 15-minute entry power zone. Name it whatever you want. But again, you don't have to, like, I know this looks really confusing. It looks like a bunch of code. And if you're missing a comma or something, nothing, you know, it's not going to work. But thankfully, you don't have to type any of that out. You can simply change my view back to TOMMYBOTS. Thankfully, there's this little code generator in here. So you can just go to the code generator, and here's where you have your instructions: buy, sell, cancel, then buy. This is the one I was using in that particular bot. And so if you're gonna, if you guys want to follow along and actually do this, we can do this step by step. Would that help, Schroden? Do you just want to follow along and we'll just go ahead and build this out? Not sure how much of a delay we have here in the live stream. I'm curious how many people are on here right now. Is it just, looks like 5 of us. So not very many. Okay, so let's build, well, here, before we do that, let me just go back and just finish giving you a brief overview of the rest of what's going on here. So we just went over the power zone entry, right? So that has 3 alerts. We went over the high or low entry, which has 2 alerts. So again, that's a group alert. And you can name these whatever you want. I just like to put this one of however many alerts there are, just so I know if I glance at my alerts panel, I know that these 2 alerts go together. And then in the code, it'll say this is alert number 1 of 2, right? So in this particular case, for the high or low, it's saying, okay, that if the delta candles, so the close of the delta candles, is greater than the confirmation line, that's my first condition. For the second condition, this any tick up alert, that's basically a high or low. So however you have your cumulative delta indicator, let me go over to the settings here. here's the indicator. And let's see. Okay, so your up down tick signal, however you have this configured, I have mine configured so that it's going to only print those higher lows in the lower half of the indicator. So that's this 0.5 right here. So you could change that. You could print them in the upper half if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend only paying attention to the ones that occur in the bottom half of the indicator, because that's the pullback you're trying to enter on. So if you if you download the playbook, there's a link in the playbook that has my exact TradingVIew template. You could load up my template. All the settings are there. You don't have to change a thing. So, so back to my entry criteria. So we have 2 group alerts for the higher low. So it's basically just saying if I get a higher low and if the delta candles are above the confirmation line, enter, right? So that's 1. For the power zone, we have 3. So that takes care of 5 alerts right there. And then for our take profit, what I do is I basically just have 2 alerts. And so what the first one says, and by the way, notice how on the first 2 alerts for the higher low, you see how I name it by the name of the coin. And then if it's an entry alert, I always preface it with entry. You don't have to. This is just my naming convention that I use. So that I know that, okay, that's an entry group alert. There's another entry group alert. So this is entry power zone. The other one's entry higher low. And then for my take profit, I usually just say TP. So for my take profit, what I want to see is I want to see that the delta candle close is less than the confirmation line. And so if the delta candle close, so right here, we crossed under that confirmation line. So that satisfies the first condition. So if I'm in a trade, every candle that closes, it's going to send an alert to the bot that says whether or not those delta candles are above or below the confirmation line. So the second one, all that says is that the signal line switched down. So again, if the delta candles go under the confirmation line and if the signal line switches down, which is, I'll just use my little circle here. So here's where we went under, and then here's the next time we switch down. So if I had not, here's my break even, by the way, or not my break even, but this is my stop line that I can drag wherever I want. I'll show you how to set that up too. But I had this sitting right here on this trade. So it went up, it came down, stopped me out at break even, right? Had I not had this here, let's go ahead and I'm going to hit pause on that alert so I can turn that off because I don't really want that to get in my way if I'm in a trade. But let's say that I did not use a stop at all and I'm just using the take profit that's in the bot. Then what would have happened is right here we had the delta cross, and then there's where we ticked down. So it would have tried to sell right here. So it still would have been I would have been better off in this case not using a stop and just using the take profit signal on the bot, and I still would have got 8.37% on that trade. And again, I'm using limit orders. I would recommend using limit orders. I would not recommend using market orders, and the reason why is because I got burned really bad one day on Binance US. I submitted a fairly large market order, and the second my order went in, I watched the candle. It went up 20% and then stopped me out, and then it came all the way back down. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, it went up. It went up 20% and then it slammed down, and somehow I ended up losing like 20% like instantaneously. It was gone. I think Actually, I went in, it went up, it went down. Somehow I lost 20% on the trade. And it was, like I said, it was instantaneous. If you use limit orders, that doesn't happen. So like if you're entering on a coin that has super low liquidity, that can be a problem. Schroden, is there anything special to do on the Kraken side of things, or pro tips about pitfalls, etc.? Yeah, use limit orders. Don't use market orders. That would be my first suggestion. Other than that, I mean, I don't think you really have to worry too much. Now, as a safeguard, I like to throw a stop line in here as well. Like I said, you don't have to. You can just put a bot together, have it be completely automated, and you don't have to use a stop. I still like to use a stop. And so when it goes in profit, I like to throw a little line on the screen. By the way, I'll show you how to do that really quick since we're talking about it. So you just take this little, the horizontal ray tool in TradingView, and you know, you just plop it on the screen. You can right click on it. You can change the color, you know, add some text. So I got a little template where, here, I'll just right click on this one. And so I got all these little templates in here. So if I want it to be an entry line, I can just click on entry. Come on. Why is it not working? Okay, I'll use a TP line. There must be something wrong with TradingView right now because that's not working. Let me close my TradingView and open it back up. All right, are we back? Can you see that? Okay, let's try this again. If I use my, there we go. If I use my stop limit template, it just puts in the stop limit text in there. If I put in entry, it changes it to an entry line. If I choose TP, it changes it to a take profit line. So I got these little templates that I set up. And so you can configure it however you want. If you want to save a template, just go to template and save as, type in a name. And so you could save your own templates that way, if you guys don't know how to do that. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to stop limit. And all you need to do is right click on the line, say add alert on horizontal ray. And then when you go over to TOMMYBOTS, I'll just do this really quick. So inside TOMMYBOTS, this would be a, you could do sell. I like doing cancel then sell, just in case I have any open orders. It's going to cancel my open orders first, and then it's going to execute the trade. So in this case, I would say Trump USD, and you could do a limit order. This confuses some people. You could put a, you know, stop as an order type, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would just, I always just use limit orders no matter what, whether I'm buying or selling, doesn't matter. So I would recommend just using a limit order. There's also, I mean, there's other options in TOMMYBOTS that you can read about. You can read through the documentation on the website, but you also have this stop option, a trailing stop option, a take profit option, but just do a limit order. Keep it simple. This checkbox says set the price limit automatically when the alert is triggered. So I'm always entering on the candle close. So I would recommend checking that box, and that way it's going to use whatever the price is when that candle closes for your limit order. So I'll click next. And if you're selling, and if it's a stop, you want to do the percent of your current position size. So usually you want to do 100%. You don't have to. You could say, okay, when I stop out, I only want to stop out with half of my position. You could do that. You just drag the slider wherever you want. Okay. I always use 100%. If it's a stop, you're going to want 100% out of the trade in most cases. So just click next. This add a stop, you don't even need to worry about that, because that's if you're adding a stop to the same order type entry. I don't want to confuse you guys. I want to keep it simple. But like, let's just, for example, say that I was entering on a long and I wanted to buy. And I had that selected as buy. Well, on that same buy order, when it buys, I can basically enter a stop on the exchange that lives on the exchange. So that's what that feature is about. But in this case, I don't want a stop to live on the exchange. I want to use TradingView and my indicator or my line for a stop, which is outside of the exchange. So, and I'm using Kraken. And so, you know, I don't necessarily want Kraken or anybody else to know where my stop is. So if you're the same way, you don't have to use that feature. Just, you can literally go to the end here and say generate code. My session expired. I gotta refresh now. Okay, I was talking too long. Let's start over. So I'm gonna do cancel then sell. Trump USD limit order. We're gonna set the price automatically when the alert's triggered. And for the stop, I want to do % of my current position size. So 100%. Now I'm just going next, next, next. It's not a group alert. Next, generate code. And then right here, you can literally just click this copy button. You don't have to write any of that code, and come back to TradingView and triple click in there and paste it in. And if you wanted to execute immediately when the price touches your line, you would use only once. But if you want, like, sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes I don't care if it wicks into my line. Sometimes I just want it to only sell if it closes below my line. And that's a feature that I don't know if you can really get that anywhere else. But with TOMMYBOTS, you can literally just say on the bar close and create. Oh, I forgot one thing. Let me edit the alert again. Instead of price crossing, I want to say crossing down. So if it closes below the line, then I want this alert to trigger. So I'm going to click save. So now I have a new stop line right here. And in this case, if I would have had this here, by the way, you'll notice if I go to my template, I have stop limit and I have stop limit close below, because sometimes I do either or. So now I know just by looking at the line that it's a close below stop. And if that would have been the case here, I never would have got stopped out and I would have actually made money on that trade. Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. I forgot to switch my screen. Sorry, guys. We're kind of stumbling through this one. So, okay. Back to what I was saying here. I'll open this back up. Can you see that now? I basically said price crossing down the horizontal ray on the bar close. That's when this alert's going to be executed. You can do as soon as it touches the line. In that case, you choose only once. But if you want it to only execute, if it closes below, you do this one. And now wherever I put this line, it's only going to trigger if the price closes below the line, and then it'll sell my entire position. That's not what I had in this case with this one down here. This one was just a touch. And reason why I did that on that one is because I know this is a meme coin and price can go kind of crazy, and I didn't really want to wait for it to close below. I just wanted to get out if it was going to go back down there. But personally, I think that is an amazing feature. I don't know of any other systems that really let you do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this line because I already have a stop on here. But for the entry line, sometimes you don't want to use your entry criteria in the bot. Sometimes you just want to enter manually. And that's why I have an entry line on here. So again, you can just put a horizontal ray on the screen, right click on it, add your alert on it. And in this case, I just have when the price is crossing, I want to buy. And in this case, I said 8% of my account. And again, you could use the code generator for that. And then wherever you drag this line, you know, say I wanted to buy on an order block or whatever it is, wherever I put this line, as soon as the price comes down and touches it, it's going to send an alert to the bot on TOMMYBOTS, and it will connect to the exchange and execute the order. But I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and hit pause. Oh, by the way, I should mention this since we're talking about it. I'm going to pause my entry line. So you can see when I pause it, that little clock, it kind of goes dim, so you know that it's not active. So now if the price crosses it, it's not going to do anything. But the stop, I'll just give you an example of how this can throw some people off with how TradingVIew alerts work. So I'm going to go and configure this as a close below. So once per bar close, right? Crossing down on the bar close. So save. So if I put this line on the current candle, nothing is going to happen. You could see like the price is kind of bouncing up and down a little bit there, but nothing's triggering. Actually, let me change this just to kind of make my point clear. Instead of crossing down, I'm just going to say crossing. I'm trying to trigger this alert. I'm trying to show you guys what happens here. So hold on a second. Crossing, bar close. Yeah, so I have bar close on. So this is not going to trigger until it closes above or below this line. If the price touched it, once that candle closes, let's see, we got 6 minutes left until this particular candle closes. So that's why it's not triggering. However, if I enter, or if I modify or edit this alert and change it to only once and hit save, and now if I drag this on the current candle, even if I'm below the price, this is what confuses people. So here, I'll put it below the price, and as soon as I let go, the next time there's a trade, that alert's going to trigger. And there it goes. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you see the alert in the lower left of the screen right there? It says stop loss, close below. Never mind close below. That wasn't a close below. That's just the name of the alert. But it triggered. And so the point that I'm trying to make is if you take a line and you drag it on an active candle, even if it's below the price, as long as it's touching the candle, that alert is going to fire as soon as the next trade is traded. Hopefully that makes sense. So when you're doing that, here, let me kind of drill this in a little bit more. So let's say that I wanted to enter, say I'm on the hourly chart. So here's the hourly. And let's just say I want to enter down here, but I know that if I drag it on this wick, that that my alert's going to trigger, and I don't want it to trigger. So what you can do in that case, you go down to a lower time frame, say the 5 minute, and now where's my line? Where'd my line go? It's way over here. Here, I'll drag it closer. So I'm not going to touch the candle, but I'm going to go over to the 5 minute, and now I could take my line and put it on this little order block down here. So say that's what I wanted to enter on, even though I'm trading the hourly chart, and now my line is down there, but it's not touching the candle because I moved it on the 5 minute chart instead of the hourly. So that's one way you could kind of get around that. But we'll go back to the 15 here, and I'll move it away. And I'll go ahead and change this back to the way that I had it. So the way that I have it, yeah, I want it to be crossing down. and only once, and save. And then I'm going to store this away and turn it off because I'm not using it right now. Oh, gosh, keep forgetting to change my view back. Sorry, guys. What did you miss? You probably missed all of that, huh? All right, really quick recap. Back to the 5-minute chart. I'm going to grab my line, come down here. This is all I did. I just drug it right there. And you'll see that now that line is active. And now I could go back to the hourly chart. And you can see the line is on the wick. It's touching the wick, but it's not going to be triggered because I moved it on the 5-minute chart and it's not touching the price. That's all I was trying to show you. So we'll go back to the hourly, move that line. And you know what? If you're not comfortable with how that works, you can always just put a dummy line on the chart and say add an alert and just say, you know, blah, 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 whatever. You don't even have to connect it to TOMMYBOTS. Hit create and just practice dragging this around on the candles and just see how it reacts. So you could see when it triggers and when it doesn't. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my stop loss. I'll pause that. I'll pause my entry because I don't want to accidentally enter right here. Any questions so far? No questions? Okay. So for every one of my bots, I usually always create an entry line. I create a stop line. And then I create whatever entry and exit criteria I want for the bot itself. So I look at those as like two separate things. Like sometimes I just want to get into a trade for whatever reason. And that's when I use the lines. If I'm just trying to have it 100% automated, I let the bot do its thing and I don't mess with the lines. Schroden, so far so good. I put a quick question in Disco chat. Disco chat? Oh, Discord chat. Let's see. Oh, you hit some latency. So you missed a couple of points that I made. Yeah, and I mean, the reason why I thought doing the live is so that you guys can go back and rewind it and play it back. And so we should be good. But if you want me to go over something again, I'm happy to do that. No problem. And like I said, we're kind of stumbling through this one. This is not planned. We just decided to throw this together at the last minute. So if we want to do a more polished version down the road, we can certainly do that. Okay, so as I was saying, for every bot that I set up, I like to throw a couple lines on the chart, one for an entry, one for the exit, just in case you need to get in quick or get out quick for whatever reason. We went over the higher low entry condition, we went over the power zone entry condition, and we went over the take profit exit condition. So really, this bot has 3 conditions. It enters on 2 separate conditions. Let me go back to that 15-minute chart so this makes more sense. So it enters on 2 conditions. Remember, that's the power zone entry or the higher low entry, and it exits on 1 condition. So the second that the delta candles go below the confirmation line, any tick down anywhere on the indicator is going to take me out. That's essentially how that works. So now, obviously, I already have all of these alerts in the alerts panel. So do you guys want me to actually, yeah, I'll show you how to create a group alert. So we'll just do that together. Do you want to just walk through it together? And then Schroden, if you're on your, if you're in your TommyBots account, we'll see if you can just follow along and do it along with me. So let's go ahead and create, well, let's go back and let's look at our high or low entry. You're like 80% here. You mean like on the stream? Like because of the lag? Okay. Well, how about this? I'm going to go through and I'm just going to walk through creating these really quick. And if for some reason you have latency or lag, you can always go back and play it back over. Sound good? And again, like, this doesn't have to be the end all be all. We can always do another live later too. No, if there was a test, I'd get 80%. You mean 80% of the profit of the trade? All right, let's look at these conditions again one more time. So for the high or low, we want to create a condition for our group alerts where the delta candles are greater than the confirmation line. Okay. So I'm going to go into TommyBots. I'm going to change my view now. And hopefully I don't forget to change this back. So I'm going to refresh the screen just so that we can start over here. All right. I'm going to go to my code generator. And this is a buy condition, right? This is one of the conditions that we want to use when we buy. So I'm going to use cancel then buy. And I'm going to say Trump USD. I'm going to use a limit order. I want to use whatever the candle close price is. So I'm going to keep that box checked. Hit next. Let's just say for the purposes of this example, we want to use 5% of our account. So you would check balance percentage, and you could drag the slider wherever you want. So we'll just say 5%. You could also say like an exact number of coins that you want to buy or exact dollar amount. That's up to you. I like to trade using percentages. So it all grows cumulatively and it makes it easy. I would suggest using percentages because then you don't have to do any math or anything. It'll always use 5% of whatever's available. Okay. So click next. And we're not going to add a stop. We're not going to add a take profit because we're doing that. Remember, we're going to have a separate sell condition for our take profit. So I don't want to put a take profit on the exchange. I want to use my indicator to tell me when to take profit. So that's why you ignore those in this case. So, but we do want to use group alerts. So with this, we're going to check this box that says that this is part of a group alert. And you want to use a unique ID, something that you can recognize. So in this case, we're going to say, we're trading Trump. We're using the 15-minute chart. So I'm going to say 15-minute. This is just an ID. So you could just say, whatever you want here. It doesn't matter. But 15-minute, this is going to be our entry, or this is an entry condition. So I'm going to call it entry. And well, what are we entering on? We're entering on a high or low. So I'm just going to say HL for high or low. Okay. And we know that we have two conditions for this entry. We want the delta candles to be above the confirmation line. And we want the indicator to print a high or low on the screen. So this is going to be alert number 1 of 2. So we have two conditions for this buy. Okay. And then we want to tell it, well, what time window do we want these alerts to come in relative to each other before it's valid, or before that entry is valid? I like to use, I'm always entering on the candle close. So if all of the alerts don't come in within like 10 minutes of each other, then I probably don't want to enter. So I use a 10-minute window, so you just write 10 minutes. And you can ignore the alert if, or the trigger if feature, ignore the or group feature. Those are more advanced features. Just give it a time window and say next and generate code. And that's it. It generated all of this for you. And once you have the first one, that's what makes it really easy to enter the rest of them, because you only have to change one thing on these. So I'll go back to my other view so you can see my screen this time. And let's just pretend that I'm starting from scratch. So I'm going to recreate the entry higher lows at the top. So I'm going to go to my indicator. I'm going to click these three little dots on the right side and say add an alert on Cumulative Delta. And in this case, we'll do the confirmation, or the delta candles above the confirmation line first. So I'm going to say greater than. So we want to use that condition, and then select the delta candle close. So you want the delta candle close to be greater than, and then we want to go back to our cumulative delta indicator and select the confirmation line. So again, the delta candle close is greater than the confirmation line. And on that bar close, we want to send this alert to the bot. So I'm going to triple click in the message, delete whatever's there, and then paste in the code that we just copied from TOMMYBOTS. So everything's right here. We don't have to change anything. We got the amount that we're going to use from our available balance. We got our group ID. This is alert number 1 of 2. And we want them to trigger within 10 minutes of each other. So I'm going to click create. And then once you create that, where did it go? Oh, I forgot to give it a name. I'm sorry. You want to give it a name. Weird. TradingVIew must have just changed their interface. That's why I didn't notice that. But it says add a custom name. Normally, there's just a text box there. So yes, I want to give it a custom name. So normally you would name it, or what I like to do is I like to, we'll just say Trump. Now, is this an entry or is this take profit? This is an entry, so I'm just going to call it entry. This is for the higher low, so I'm going to call it entry higher low, or HL. And then I usually throw a colon in here and say, if it's a group alert of 2 alerts, I'd say this is 1 of 2. That makes it really easy. I can just glance at it and know exactly what that is. Now, I already have a similar, here, I'm going to pause these other 2 just so that doesn't confuse you. So again, we're just creating the one at the top there. Schroeder, remind me real quick how the webhook thing works. Okay. So here's the thing. Now, I didn't go over the webhook, and there's a notifications tab right here. If I click on that, you're going to see my bot URL, and I don't want anybody to see my bot URL, which is the webhook, because that's unique to me. That's unique to my bot. If people see it, they could potentially, execute trades using that bot URL. So, but to show you, you basically, here, I'll go back to TOMMYBOTS. And you see this little My Bots menu section right there? Again, I don't want to click on that because I don't want to show you my bot ID or anyone else on the internet. But when you go to My Bots, there's a little bot ID in there. So when you go and you create your bot, it just gives you a little ID. And so you connect it to your exchange using your API keys from the account, your account on the exchange. The documentation, and I think there's another video on that on the channel. But once you have your bot set up, then you just copy that bot ID, go back to your TradingVIew alert, and on that notifications tab, you'll see a little webhook, and you paste in your bot ID right there. And There's also other notifications that are available on there. Like, do you want to see a little pop-up? You know how the application gives you a little pop-up when an alert triggers. Now, for most of my bots, I have that turned off because if you have a lot of bots running, those are constantly popping up and it's really annoying. So I turn off all of the notifications, and I just have the webhook selected so that it sends the notification to the bot on TommyBots and not to me personally. It's because TommyBots is going to send me a separate notification when it buys and sells. So I'm going to get that on my phone as a text message. Schroden, is it one bot ID to rule them all, or is it one for each symbol? It's one for each account. That's a great question. You don't need to have a separate bot for each symbol. You can use the same. I use the same bot for everything. The only time you want to use multiple bots is if you have multiple accounts that you want to trade and you want to keep them separate, or if you have some other reason for that. But there's no, in most cases, you're going to use the same bot for all of your conceptual bots, if that makes sense. So I'm making a conceptual bot here on this Trump USD coin, but the actual bot is fielding all the alerts from everything for that account. Does that make sense? I remember learning that last year, but memory was fuzzy, coming back to me now. Yep, that's how that works. So once you set up one alert, it'll save your bot URL in the alert, in the notification settings. So it makes it really easy to create a lot of these alerts once you get the first one set up. So once the first one's set up, like in this case, we'll just hit save. And so now we want our second condition. We created the first one, right? So a lot of people think you got to go back to TommyBots, go through the code generator again. You don't have to do any of that again. All you have to do is go back to, where I said one of two, just right click on that alert and just say clone. And when you say clone, it's going to pop up right here, and then select that one and edit that. And now just come in here and change the name from 1 to 2 to 2 of 2. And then scroll down in your in the code down here and just change your alert number from a 1 to a 2. And now it's alert number 2 of 2. That's the only thing you have to change. Well, it's the only thing in the code you have to change. You still have to change your condition up at the top. So for this condition, remember the last one was if the delta candles were greater than the confirmation line, send the alert. In this case, we want it to print that higher low, which is this any tick up option right here. So I'm going to select that for this one and hit save, and that one's literally done. So that's one buy condition that is already set up, and now we can move on to the power zone condition. Does that make sense so far? Any questions? Awesome. Would you like me to do the power zone one? All right, we'll do the power zone one. Okay, now I'm going to delete these because I already have that set up. So I'm going to, what you can do, you can highlight, if you want to delete multiple alerts, and you'll find yourself doing this a lot. If you're creating a lot of alert conditions, you just click on the first one, hit the shift key, click on the second one, and then if you hit the delete, then it'll delete both of them at the same time. You can also start and stop them that way, which makes it really nice. So see right now, you see how I have these 3 alerts for my power zone entry. I can click on the first one, hit the shift key on the keyboard, click on the last one, and then hit pause, and they all turn off. If I want to turn them all on, As long as they're all selected, hit the play button. And now they're on. Now my bot's back on for that condition. So keep in mind, like these conditions are separate. They're not, you know, you're creating these independently of all of the other coins, all of the other conditions. So, but you're grouping them using that ID in your group alerts, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and pause these, and we're going to recreate them from scratch now. So for the power zone entry, we are going to go back to the indicator down here. Click the three dots, say add alert on Cumulative Delta. And for the condition, again, we want, here I'm going to say, greater than. So there's a greater than option down here. And now I'm going to say I want the delta candle close to be greater than, and then I'm going to select Cumulative Delta again down here, and then select the confirmation line. So I want the delta candles to be greater than the confirmation line. Make sure you set it on the bar close. And so now I'm ready to go into TOMMYBOTS. And again, I'll just refresh the page to start over. And go to the code generator. And again, this is another buy condition. So I'm going to use cancel, then buy on this one. And we're going to say Trump, USD. Again, a limit order. We're going to do the same thing that we did last time. So I'm going to use the balance of my account, or the available balance, which means, like, say that half of your account is already in a trade and it's already invested in something. If you say 5% here, it's going to take 5% of whatever's left. So if half of your account is left and is sitting in cash, it's only going to use 5% of whatever's left, if that makes sense. I'm going to click next. Not going to add a stop, not going to add a take profit, but this is a group alert. Remember, we have 3 conditions for this group alert. So in this case, I'm going to say Trump 15, I'll say 15M for 15 minute. This is an entry and not a take profit. And this is my power zone entry. So I'm just going to say, I could say PZ, I could say power zone, whatever you want to say there. This is going to be alert number 1 of 3. And again, I want these all to come in within 10 minutes of each other. So I'm going to set my group window to 10 minutes. And I'm going to click next and generate code. And now here's the code that we need for this alert. I'm going to go back to TradingVIew, triple click in the message to delete it, and paste that in. So now I got my first condition set up. Again, this is Trump, and you want to just look at everything over, make sure it looks the way that you want. This is alert number 1 of 3. And I'm going to click create. And remember, as soon as you create that first alert, oh, I forgot to give it a name. So this is going to be Trump again. Trump, this is an entry, and this is our power zone. So I'm going to say entry power zone, and this is alert 1 of 3. So I'll just put a colon 1 of 3 and hit save. And it should pop up. Oh, it's at the top there. You see that? So now that I have my first one created, all you have to do is right click on it, hit clone, and click on the cloned alert, edit, and we're going to change the condition now. So the first condition was the delta candles are above the confirmation line. The second condition is we want the signal. So I'm going to choose the signal line. We want it to be less than, and then I'm going to just say value. I want it to be in that lower power zone, which you could use 0.001, That's what's in the playbook. If you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive on it, you can change it to like 0.002. So, and again, this is on the bar close, and we want to change the name of this alert to 2 of 3, since this is our second condition. So alert number 2 of 3, and save. That easy. And now we just do the same thing over again. Right click on it, hit clone. And now for this one, we want to buy when the signal line switches up. So that's when it ticks up in that lower power zone. So I'm going to say switches up, and on the bar close, I'm going to edit the name to 3 of 3. And then remember, don't forget to change that in your alert code. So change the 2 to 3. Now this is alert number 3 of 3. Just be careful when you edit that number that you don't delete, any of this other code in here. If you delete a comma, or if you delete the quotation marks or anything like that, it's not going to work. So just change the number, and that's it. Hit save, and that one's done. So we created our entry power zone condition, our entry higher low condition, which is right here. And again, I already had those all set up there, so I'm going to delete these 3. And down here, I'm going to start these other ones back up. And then for the take profit, it's the same thing. In this case, if the delta candles, there's the delta candle close, is less than the confirmation line, then we want to sell. And so in here we have our cancel then sell. We want to sell 100% of the position. Here's our ID for that group alert. And this is alert number 1 of 2. And in this case, I had it set to 14 minutes for some reason. But as long as it's less than the candle, if we're using 15-minute candles, as long as it's less than 15 minutes, it should work. If you tighten it up too much, if you say like 1 minute, then if there's not a lot of trading going on, sometimes the next trade might not happen for 2 or 3 minutes. And if that's the case, then if you want to sell, it's not going to sell because now it's outside that time window. So that's why I like to, give it enough of a window for the next trade to come in. But that's it. I mean, right. That's how you build a Trump bot using the cumulative delta. We got our exit condition, 2 entry conditions. You can add more conditions if you want. It's totally up to you, however you trade. You are not limited at all. If you have other indicators you want to pair this with, there's nothing that that says that you have to use this indicator, you have to use this time frame. You can even, if you wanted to, link it into these other time frames as well. So if you could say, okay, that's cool, I want all of those same conditions on the 15-minute, but I only want to enter trades if the hourly delta is also above the confirmation line. You could say that. Or you could say, I only want this to be in effect if the daily is above its confirmation line. So you could, you could tie higher time frames into it in the same group alerts. You could create as many conditions as you want. Well, there is a limit. I shouldn't say you create as many as you want. I think it's like 12 conditions or something like that. But most people don't use that many. And if you are using that many, it's probably too much. There was something else I wanted to point out, and I forgot what it was. Any questions so far? ME2, trading taxes. Personally, I don't have to worry about that because all of my trades are executed on my Roth IRA account, so there is no tax on that. But if you're trading in just a personal account, then yeah, you're going to have to report taxes. There's services out there that make it really easy, though. I'm trying to think of the name of that. I don't. There's a bunch of them out there, but they could basically connect. You just go in there. I think you put in like your API keys for your crypto exchange. It'll connect to your exchange, download all of your trades for the whole year, and it'll put it all together for you in literally minutes. So that shouldn't be too bad. Any other questions? Hey, Raphael. Good to see you here. So, Schroden, did this live accomplish what you were looking to accomplish today? Awesome. C8, is it possible to set up a trigger buy for the Delta squeeze? Yes, of course. It is possible to do that. It's just more conditions. Let's see here. Where do we have a Delta squeeze today? Here's one. So this is MNQ. This is not crypto. By the way, the bots, if you wanted to automate your trades, right now it only connects to Kraken, Binance. It can do some Forex too, but not futures yet. So I'm hoping to get futures connected in there at some point. It's just something I have to code and get around to doing, but eventually it'll be done. But here's a Delta squeeze here. So we have the Delta in the upper power zone, and you basically have a lower high tick down underneath the Delta. So what you could do is you could say, like, create one condition to say, is the Delta in the upper power zone? If it is, send an alert. So that's your condition 1. Your condition 2 would be, did you get a lower high tick down? And did that tick down? So that would be your condition 2. It did a lower high print, so that's right here. And then your third condition can say, well, where did that print? Sometimes if it's down here, like towards the midline, you might want to ignore it. So let's see if there's any, like, see this one? Now this one probably ended up still being a good one. You see how you got the Delta in the upper power zone, and here's your lower high tick down. And, but it was near the midline. So say you want to ignore these and you're looking for like a, typically you want it to be up here, right? And so you can have another condition that says, is the signal greater than, and then just, figure out whatever level you want to use. It could be 0.008, it could be 0.007. Let's see if this one over here would have, right here. So the signal line in this case looks like it was above 0.008, maybe. Might be borderline on 8. So maybe you want to use 7.5 or something like that. Anyway, so you could do that in like 3 conditions. You just have to build the conditions for it. And that's the beauty with TOMMYBOTS, is it can do pretty much anything that you can think of. If you can alert on it in the chart, you can build a condition for it, and you can automate it. Yeah, so you'd have 3 other conditions for that. And again, everybody's a little different. So you might, your conditions might be slightly different than someone else's. You might not care if it's down here. If you see one in the red zone, you can just say as long as it's you don't even have to have a condition that says if it's above 0.005, because the indicator itself you can have configured to only print those if it's above that level. So you could literally just change the indicator settings for those tick downs, those lower high tick downs, instead of using another condition on the bot. Okay, I just remembered what I was gonna talk about earlier. Let me go back to Trump. C8, how many alerts you think a crypto might do on a 15-minute chart? Well, it could do quite a bit, actually. I typically trade crypto on an hourly chart. It has, it kind of acts as a little bit of a filter. But for things like the Trump coin, where it's like super volatile, the hourly might be too big for that, because otherwise you're going to be risking too much. And you might want to even tighten it down even more and go to the 5-minute. The moves are just going to get smaller and smaller on the, those lower time frames. And so you can control your risk that way, basically. Right now, I'm using the 15 for this one, and I've only had one entry signal since I started it, and it was right here. That was the only, I started it on Monday. What's today? Today's Wednesday. I started it on Monday. I've only had one long. It was a good one. I just ended up stopping out at break even, but I was up, like I said earlier, was up like 28% on that one. And here's the thing. If I would have had a different exit condition to exit in this particular scenario where the signal crosses under the delta, when the delta's in that upper power zone, that would have saved me, and that would have been a better exit in this case. And working with like a volatile meme coin like this, I would actually recommend doing that instead of waiting for, the TP that I have set right now. You can do that if you think it's going to go on a tear and it's going to make like a really long run, then it'll keep you in as long as the delta stays above that confirmation line. But if you're just trying to, like do more scalping or just really quick trades and you don't really want it to go against you, then, and I actually might end up doing this myself on this Trump coin, I'm probably going to create another take profit scenario, so another group alert. So I'll still keep this one on there for the, if it goes under the confirmation line, but I'll set up another group, another take profit group, which will have a condition that says, is the delta in the upper power zone? So it'll be one alert. Did the signal close under the delta? That'll be another alert. And then is the signal above? And then I'll have a level on here. So I'll probably use like 0.009. So if the signal is above 0.009 and it closed below the delta and the delta is in the upper power zone, then I want to take profit. And here's the other beauty of this. So with your take profit, in this case, I'm using 100%. You could change that to 50%. Just change it to 50. And that way you can kind of have the best of both worlds. You can take profit, move your stop to break even, just in case it really does want to go on a tear, and then use the second one for the to get out fully at 100%. And I mean, the possibilities are endless for however you want to trade it, and that's the beauty. So however you want to set it up, it's up to you. Does that answer that question? Raphael, Tommy, have you explained about your bot services at the beginning of the video? Well, you know, we started this video mainly for Schroden. He just picked up a TommyBots Pro account, and he had some questions on setting up a bot. So I was just going to do like a one-on-one with him, and then I figured, you know, other people would probably be interested in this too. So I decided to go live at like the last minute. So this was like totally unplanned. So I don't think I really explained anything about the bot services other than, you know, setting this up for him. Do you have specific questions about TommyBots? If you do, let me know. I could try to answer those. Does your service include mentoring as well? Well, I guess that's a good question. I guess I never really thought about mentoring, but I mean, you are on my live streams every day, so you get to hear my commentary as I think through trades. I mean, my commentary on the trades is basically the same as what you'd see in the bot. So if you wanted to pick my brain a little bit on a live stream, you're more than welcome to. I suppose until it gets a little ridiculous. I mean, we only have like, what, 400 subscribers or so on the channel right now. If it gets crazy and I'm really getting bombarded with stuff, then I'll probably have to think that over a little bit. But yeah, for now, absolutely. What other questions do you guys have? Oh, I finally remembered what I wanted to talk about. So what I just showed you guys was how to set this up with three. We'll use the power zone condition, or the power zone entry as an example. So the first, let's see here. Not the first, the second. No, not the second. The third condition, we're checking to see if the delta candles are greater than the confirmation line, right? Here's the problem with that. Well, and this is more my problem, not your problem. And I'm still not sure. This is why I was a little reluctant to share exactly what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is there's a little bit of laziness involved here. So on that particular condition where it says the delta candles, you want the delta candles greater than the confirmation line, right? Well, this is firing on every single bar close. So on every one of these candles, it's sending an alert to the TommyBots platform. And so there's not a whole lot of users on the TommyBots platform. So like right now, it's not an issue. But if I have like thousands of people on there and everybody is sending, you know, an alert just to check to see if a line is above another line on every single candle, that's going to bog down the system potentially. You know, on every candle close, imagine like 1,000 alerts coming in on the close of every candle, right? And so this is more of like an infrastructure issue, which, by the way, it's not an issue. It's not an issue right now, but it's something I have to think about as, you know, being the main developer of the system. So the way that I would prefer you guys to do it is not to do this on every single candle close like I'm doing it. Like I said, I'm just kind of being lazy about it. But what I would prefer that you do, here, let me go back to TommyBots. And I'll refresh the page again so we can start over here. Go back to the code generator, and let's just pretend that we're configuring that same group alert. So I'm going to say Trump USD limit order. We want to buy, I don't know, 5% or whatever it is. And when you get over to the group alerts and we say, yes, this is part of a group alert, go back to my chart really quick. if you look at this delta cross, when it crosses the confirmation line, and then when it crosses back below it, you know, when you think about it, it's much more efficient to only send an alert on the cross when you're above it, and then send one other alert when you cross back down, right? So there's a feature on TOMMYBOTS that allows you to use what we call a group switch. And so in this case, when it crosses above, that switch would turn on. And when it crosses back below, that switch turns off. So as long as the switch is on, any other conditions that are part of your group alert, those will be valid. So in this case, if I would have used group switch on here, then it would have been waiting for the signal to come down and tick up in the lower power zone. And then it would say, oh, is the group switch turned on or is it turned off? If it's turned on, then go ahead and buy. If it's turned off, it would ignore it, right? So what that does by using a switch, instead of sending that value over every single time on every candle close, just from an infrastructure perspective, it makes it much easier on the platform. So I would prefer that you guys do a group switch instead. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'll go back to TOMMYBOTS here, and let's just say Trump, you know, whatever we called it, right? That's not important right now. And so that's where it says group alert type. Before we use standard. Instead of standard, we could say, okay, for this alert number, I want to use a group switch. And when it alerts, I want it to turn on. And see your group window? By doing that, your group window goes away, and it basically switches on indefinitely until it's switched off. And so then you could just say next, generate code, and see for your group window now, it says that it's switched on. And so if I was going to configure this, here, I'm just going to copy this really quick, and I'll go back to TradingVIew, and I don't want to screw up my alerts I already have in here, but here, let me just create a new alert just to show you an example. So let's say greater than. So this is going to be the on switch, okay? So you want the delta candles closed to be greater than the confirmation line. Or not, I'm sorry, not greater than. We want to use a cross in this case. So crossing up, that's the actual switch. So the delta candles, when they cross above the confirmation line on the bar close, paste in this code. We want that switch to switch on for alert condition number 1. Okay? So I'm going to hit here. I'm just going to call this test. Test. Group switch test. Create. So here's my group switch. Here, I'm going to rename that to on. Okay? So group switch on. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this alert, and I'm going to change it from crossing up to crossing down. So now when the delta candles cross down on the confirmation line on the bar close, I want that switch to turn off. So I'm going to change it to off, and then scroll down here, and instead of switch on, just change it to switch off. Now this is for the same alert condition, so you don't want to change your alert number in this case because it's a switch. And I have a whole video on group switches, so you could go back on the channel and watch that. But that's how you would do that. And so click save. And so now for that one alert condition, I have, see, it's a little bit more work because now I have 2 alerts, but they only alert on the cross and not on every candle close. Does that make sense? please, please, please do that instead of be lazy about it like what I'm doing. Because if you guys can do that, it's gonna let the system breathe easier. There's not gonna be so many alerts coming in every single minute. Make sense? Hopefully I didn't confuse you with that. That's kind of a little bit of an advanced feature, but what's really cool about that is that's where I was going to get into when I started talking about, like, if you want to link this into, say, a higher time frame on the daily, or, you know, say you have the daily up here, you got the 4 hour here, you have the hourly down here, and you want, say you want full time frame continuity, you want the delta to be above the confirmation line on each of those, you can have multiple group switches for one buy. So you could say I have create an on switch and an off switch for that delta cross on the daily, have an on switch and an off switch on the delta cross for the 4 hour, and so on. And then on your entry time frame, you would just have a different alert number for each of those switches, right? So say the daily would be alert number 1, the 4 hour would be alert number 2, and when I say alert number, I mean, we'll go back to, this. The alert number is basically the ID of the switch. So whether it's switched on or switched off, you want to make sure that the off switch has the same ID as the on switch. So say the daily is number 1, the 4 hours number 2. Say the hourly is number 3. And then your other conditions could be 4, 5, and 6. Make sense? Does your bot service come with some bots already configured? No, they don't. TOMMYBOTS was designed so that it was designed for the trader who already knows how they want to trade, and it just gives them a way to automate what they already do. So if you already have a bunch of indicators that you use, you already have all of your conditions laid out of when you buy, when you sell. It was designed so that you can go and take whatever conditions those are, create alerts for them, and automate them. So no, I get that question a lot from people, because a lot of people just want you to kind of hand them a bot that's all ready to go. I've been reluctant this whole time to actually show what I'm doing, because I don't know if there's any liability or anything that goes along with that. I don't know. All I know is this is the way that I trade. So for the most part, I've kept a lot of this to myself, but I figured I'll go ahead and share what I'm doing with you guys. If you guys want to copy what I'm doing, you're welcome to do that. And if you want to change it, I would encourage you to put your own rules in here, create your own conditions, and trade it how you want to trade it. And that's another big difference between this platform and what other bot services are all about, because most other bot services, they are already packaged for you. And so, I think the general consensus among most traders is that they generally don't work. If everyone's doing the same thing, it's probably not going to work very well. So, this is really tailored for the trader who really knows what rules they want to implement, and they just want a way to automate that without coding. You don't have to learn how to code to do it. Schroden. Yeah, it's a super cool thing, him sharing this she was reluctant to do. Yeah, this is just so you guys know, this is the first time I have shared my bot strategy with anybody really. So I've been doing this for a while. I've just I built TOMMYBOTS. I get this question a lot too. I built TOMMYBOTS mainly for myself. So I wanted to automate my own trades. And so I've been using it for a few years now. And, but once I had it built, I thought, well, hey, I'm sure other traders would like this too. And that's when I kind of opened it up for other people to kind of hop on the system and use it too. I basically opened that door a couple years ago, but I've never shared exactly what I'm doing for my bots, or how exactly to configure them. I haven't really been pushing it at all, to be honest with you. I haven't done any advertising. I haven't done really anything. I created a couple YouTube videos and that's it. I figured, I built it for myself to make money. And if other people could jump on the platform and I could make money that way too, then that's kind of a bonus in my eyes. So any possibility to NinjaTrader 8? Not at the moment, no. I don't know. See, part of the problem for me is that I don't have like a huge development team or anything, so I can't just integrate with like every single platform out there. So if I'm going to integrate with a platform, I would prefer that I personally am using it myself, and I don't even use NinjaTrader. I use Quantower for futures. So the odds of me building an interface or an integration into NinjaTrader 8 is pretty slim at this point, unless I go back to using it. So what other questions you guys got? Oh, sorry, I missed that other question. Does it only apply for TradingView? Yes. So all of your alerts have to be created inside TradingView, yes. So any indicators that you can alert on in TradingView, it'll work on those. We should do this more. Yeah, like I said, this isn't the be all end all. As far as like the stream goes, like we don't have to go into all the details right now. If you guys have more questions, we can always hop back on and do this again at a later date. I mainly just did this today to get Schroden up and running and get his bot going. So we figured, hey, might as well go live and see if other people want to join in too. Cool. Thank you. Awesome. You guys going to be on the live tomorrow for futures? If anyone out there is interested, I have been live streaming every day since November. I try to live stream from 8:15 a.m. Central Time until it slows down. So any futures traders out there, you come join us tomorrow at 8:15 a.m. I know we've been talking about crypto on here, but it's typically what I do. I trade manually on futures and I automate trading on crypto. Just because crypto trades 24/7 and being able to automate that when I'm sleeping is kind of nice. Cool. All right, guys. Well, if you don't have any other questions, I'm going to hop off, and hopefully this was helpful. Any chances for you to start streaming at 7:30? You know, that's a great question. I probably would, but I'm always getting my daughter ready for school. I got to get her on the bus around that time. So I'm kind of like, I'm jumping in and out of the office. Sometimes I put on trades earlier, and then she's usually on the bus by like 7:50, 8 o'clock. Today the bus was late, so she was on at like 8 o'clock, and then just have enough of time to get the stream rolling. So yeah, the pre-market's usually pretty good. I like pre-market. It's when New York opens at 8:30 that it can kind of turns it into a rat's nest a little bit. I wish I had more time earlier. You know, if the kids didn't require so much time in the morning, then that would be easier for me. So maybe in the future. We'll see. All right, guys. Well, let me know if you have any other questions. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you later.